Classical music speaks to a certain type of audience, or so I thought. A few years ago, I was invited to go on several prison tours across the United States with a few other classical musicians. I remember our first stop on the tour. It was at a juvenile detention center. When we arrived, we were led into a barren room with gray concrete walls. It seemed like they allocated zero budget for beautifying the place, not even for paint. Nothing like our usual performing venues, but that was where we were to perform. No fancy concert hall, tuxes, or formal gowns. We were in casual clothes in a plain room, stripped of all the cultural and socio-economic implications of classical music. The perfect playing field to communicate just with sound. After the sound check, teenagers started to file into the room quietly in a straight line. If any stray word escaped from their mouth, they were told off by the guard. They sat in their seats, glum, uninterested, and annoyed by having to attend this mandatory cultural event. As any performer would tell you, not all audiences are the same. Some are enthusiastic and spirited, and some are half dead. And when I saw their closed-off body language, I braced myself for the worst. We were going to perform to a dead crowd. What happened during the first piece, though, caught me completely off guard. As soon as we started performing, their eyes lit up. Their body language changed. They were emotionally engaged and musically transfixed. After the last piece, you could hear a pin drop in the room. And then, a thunderous standing ovation. Some kids came up to us in tears, and some thanked us over and over and asked for autographs. I had never in my life received that kind of rock star treatment for performing classical music. It filled my heart. A couple of days after the performance, letters started to trickle in. One letter read, "This concert was honestly the most beautiful thing I've ever experienced. It actually took me out of this horrible place for a moment and brought me hope." Going into this tour, I subconsciously put myself on a pedestal, thinking I was gifting these poor, unfortunate souls with music. But when we performed, it seemed like our social masks, roles, and boundaries melted, and we were all rendered equal. In that moment, we were simply communing and validating each other's existence through the medium of classical music. The kind of music our audience didn't care two hoots about before. We continued our tour and performed in adult prisons and halfway houses to the same thunderous reception. These groups were the unlikeliest of audiences I had ever performed for in my entire career. The typical audience for classical music is middle-aged or older, mid-upper class, and white. These groups? Teenagers in detention centers and inmates in prisons, half of whom were people of color. Today, I want to talk about the reach of Western classical music beyond its typical demographic makeup, and how being vulnerable and emotionally transparent in one's performance is one of the most powerful ways to connect with people, regardless of one's race, socioeconomic status, and age. A prison is a depressing, dismal place. Its high fences are lined with barbed wires, and all the buildings are concrete gray. Many prisoners live without hope, especially those who are on death row. According to an article in Clinical Psychology Review, on average, 1 out of 10 prisoners attempt suicide. For the incarcerated, nothing could be more irrelevant to their lives than classical music. They have more pressing things to think about. So what made classical music so relatable and moving to the prisoners I met on tour? I argue that when a performance is delivered through heart and emotional authenticity, it can penetrate through the most hardened hearts. As a performer, it requires tremendous courage to be vulnerable in front of people you don't know. It feels like being naked on stage. So why do I do it? I do it because I know that the payoff is infinitely greater than the discomfort I feel. When I allow myself, my emotions, and my past experiences to be seen through singing, in other words, by being emotionally transparent on stage, I destroy the barrier between me and my audience. There's something transcendent about the experience for both the performers and the audience. It gives my audience the permission to let their guard down and connect with me through their own emotions, no matter how different their background and past experiences may be. And this belief was confirmed when we received a letter from an inmate who said, "Thank you for making me cry, because I had never before been able to cry without physical pain being inflicted on me." A prison chaplain came up to me after another concert and said, "I'm an ex-cop and a Vietnam vet. I'm pretty hardened, and my emotional range isn't as big as other people's. But your singing moved me to tears." If we, the musicians, were emotionally closed off, our audience wouldn't have been able to connect with the music and discover a completely different world than the one they have been living in. If we refuse to be vulnerable, classical music then would have just been an artifact of elitism and irrelevance. As I wrap up this talk, I like to leave a message to those who don't usually relate to classical music. You may already be satisfied with your own cultural and musical experiences. You might think classical music is outdated and boring. But when you allow these preconceived notions to drop and really hear the music for music's sake and connect with the performers, just maybe you develop a new appreciation for classical music. So I encourage you to check out what kind of classical music is being performed in your area and go listen. And if you like it, and if you would like to take it a step further, you can become involved in outreach programs of your local music organizations. As an outreach representative, you can become the bridge between underrepresented communities and music organizations. That way, you can discover the community needs, advocate for a more inclusive representation of artists, and a more culturally diverse programming to reflect the community's interests. So be brave and go out of your comfort zone to see what brilliant life experiences await you on the other side. Thank you.